Hey guys, good evening. Guys, if you're able to see my screen, just type S in the chat box so that we can get started. Yeah, thanks for the confirmation. So let's begin. So, regarding today's session, let's go to the location here and then get started there. So I'll be opening the notes for you. And the previous session, I covered the different API styles or protocols or architectures, whatever you call. Okay. And I explained, the difference between the SOAP and REST API styles. Now, in today's session, I'm going to cover this one. The next item is this one, okay? REST, REST API, RESTful API, and RESTful web services, okay? REST API, RESTful API, and RESTful web services. What are they? What are the difference between them? I'm going to cover. First thing is what? REST. So already covered in the previous session, right? What is REST? In the previous session, what I covered, I explained the difference between the REST and SOAP. Okay, REST and SOAP. Sorry. Okay, I explained the difference between REST and SOAP API styles. In that, SOAP is a protocol, whereas REST is an architectural style. You already know from the previous session that REST is an architectural style, okay, which can be used for designing the APIs. Okay, REST is an architectural style, okay, to design the APIs. What is REST, guys? REST is nothing but you already know from the previous session that REST is an architecture, right? REST is an architectural style used for creating or building. You can also call them as creating or building APIs, okay? Which type of APIs? Web service kind of APIs, okay? REST is an architectural style used for creating or building APIs. What does this architectural style means? Architectural style means it contains some rules and regulations. Okay. By following some rules and regulations. Okay. By following some rules and regulations, we can create or build the APIs. Okay. Rules and regulations will be there in this architectural styles. Clear, everyone? To the concept wise, if you have to understand the concepts, REST is simply an architectural style, whereas SOAP is a protocol. REST is an architectural style. Which use which protocol, guys? It's by itself, REST is not a protocol. REST will use some third-party protocol. Which protocol it will use from the previous session? Can you tell me? What is the protocol that REST will use? Yes, HTTP. Okay, HTTP or HTTPS over internet. Okay, that means over the internet, this this API is created with the help of REST will be working. Okay. So REST is an architectural style, okay, used for creating or building the APIs. In this architectural style, what will be there? Rules and regulations will be there, okay. In this REST architectural styles, okay, some rules and regulations according to the REST type will be there, which will be used for creating or building the APIs. The APIs that are created or built with the help of this REST architectural style are called as REST APIs. What are REST APIs, guys? What are REST APIs? The APIs which are built with the help of this REST architectural style are called as REST APIs. Okay. Next item is REST APIs. APIs that are built using REST architectural style are called as, can be called as REST APIs. Okay. REST APIs. Clear, everyone? What are REST APIs? The APIs which are built with the help of this REST architectural style are called as REST APIs. The next item we have here is RESTful API. The next item we have is a RESTful API. Okay, RESTful API. What does it mean? What are RESTful APIs? Guys, just a terminology, guys. Okay, RESTful API is nothing but equal to REST API. Okay, both are same. Okay, we can also call REST APIs as RESTful APIs. Okay? Both are same guys. REST APIs and RESTful APIs both are same. Then another thing is there. RESTful web services. Okay? RESTful web services also people will call RESTful web services. You see, anyhow, this REST architectural style uses, which protocol? You already mentioned that it uses HTTP or HTTPS protocol, right? That means HTTP or HTTPS protocol means over the internet. Okay? Over the internet, this request and response of the REST will happen, right? The APIs which have been built with the help of REST architectural style will use HTTPS protocol as a transport mechanism. That means if some APIs okay, are using internet as a transport mechanism by using this HTTP or HTTPS protocol, those APIs are generally called as, guys, don't worry about the rest or something. Any APIs which work on the top of internet, which work on the internet are called as web services. In one of the previous sessions, I covered this, right? Okay. All web services are APIs, but all APIs are not web services because all APIs will not use internet as a transport means, right? But web services, okay, which use internet as a transport mean are generally API types, okay? So all web services are APIs, but all APIs are not web services. The APIs which travel over internet are called as generally web services, okay? A type under the APIs, we have one category known as web services that are already covered in the previous sessions, guys. So whether you call it as RESTful API or whether you call it as a RESTful web services, the name is same, right? The APIs which travel over the internet are generally called as web services. Okay. Same thing, RESTful, same thing is there. Anyhow, this REST architectural style created APIs will use HTTPS as a transport mechanism. There's the only way. Then obviously this APIs will be web services only. This API types will be web services type only. Either you can call them as REST APIs or RESTful APIs or RESTful web services. Everything is same, guys. Okay. Is equal to RESTful API. Both are same, guys. Okay. Some people will call it as RESTful API. Some people call them as REST APIs. Some people call them as RESTful web services. All are same. Okay. All are same. Clear, everyone? Everyone clear? Everyone clear with these topics of REST APIs, RESTful API, and RESTful web services? Everyone is clear with this? Okay. Just for confirmation, we'll go to ChatGPT and we'll explore more about this there. Okay. REST versus REST API versus RESTful API versus RESTful web services. Okay. Let's see. So only REST will be kind of different. All these three items are same. Okay, REST is an architectural style. It is a concept. Using this architectural style, using the rules and regulations of this, using the rules and regulations of this REST architectural style, if you create some APIs, there can be called as REST APIs or RESTful APIs or RESTful web services. Okay. So first of all, REST, representational state transfer. Okay, it is a software architectural style. Okay. So software architectural style, it's a concept, not a protocol or standard. It's a architectural style, guys. Okay. REST API that conforms to the REST architectural style. APIs that are created or built with help of REST architectural style are called as REST APIs. Simple words. Okay. Then RESTful APIs. Another term for REST API, guys. Okay. Another term people generally call REST APIs also as RESTful APIs at a high level. Okay. Then RESTful web services, a type of web services that implements REST. Anyhow, all the APIs of this REST API are generally use HTTP or HTTPS as a protocol. Definitely, all the APIs of the REST are nothing but web services. So you can also call them as RESTful web services. Okay, whether people call them as okay, whether people call them as REST API or RESTful API or RESTful web services, everything is same, guys. Okay, clear, everyone? REST is an architectural style which has some design principles, rules, and regulations, okay, using which we can create or build the APIs. Okay, the APIs which are built with the help of REST architectural style are called as REST APIs. Then RESTful API, synonym for REST API. Okay, then RESTful web services. You can either use these words in, okay. The web services of this REST are called as RESTful web services. Okay, fine. Okay, then clear, right? Fine. Let's move on, guys. Let's move on with the next topic. That is synchronous APIs. There is a mistake in this explanation. Synchronous APIs versus asynchronous APIs is the next topic. Okay. I'll just delete this and create a new notes for you. Okay. To explain that. Synchronous APIs versus asynchronous APIs. Okay. This is one thing. Let me take a picture of this and post in the Telegram group. Okay, done. Next item. Next item here that I'm trying to explain here is about synchronous APIs versus asynchronous APIs. Okay, what are synchronous APIs? Synchronous APIs. What are asynchronous APIs? Asynchronous APIs. At a high level, what are synchronous APIs? What are asynchronous APIs? When you hit a particular API, if the response is coming immediately, okay, once you trigger this particular API, if the response is coming immediately, that are called as synchronous APIs. What are synchronous APIs, guys? Okay, when you call this synchronous APIs, the response will be immediate. Okay, you will get the response immediately. Okay, those are called as synchronous APIs. What are asynchronous APIs? When you call these asynchronous APIs, the response, okay, will come with a delay. Not immediately, with a delay, guys. Okay, you will get a confirmation that API has been posted, but you will not get the response, guys. Okay, such kind of APIs are called as asynchronous APIs. Okay, I'll just type here for more information. Synchronous APIs versus asynchronous APIs. Okay, synchronous APIs versus asynchronous APIs. A synchronous API requires a client to wait for the server to process the request and return a response. Okay, here the response will come immediately. That's the reason client will wait for the response. Okay, in synchronous APIs, once the request is placed to the server, the client who has placed the request will wait for the response. The reason behind that is the client will respond immediately. Okay, immediate response will be there. So that's why until the response will come back from the server, the client can't do anything. Client need to wait. Those are synchronous APIs. Okay. So calling someone and waiting on the phone for their answer is something like synchronous API in real world example, guys. This is okay. Like if you want to get the list of users, okay, get users list. Okay, then you got a response. Okay, then you immediately got a response that the list of users came here. That is an example for the synchronous APIs. Then coming to the asynchronous APIs, okay, coming to the asynchronous APIs, in asynchronous APIs, the client will send a request and continue executing other tasks. Client will not wait for the response to come back. The client will go and do some other task without waiting for the response. Okay. Client doesn't worry about the whether it will get the response or not. It will go and do some other activities. Okay. Sending a text message and doing other things while waiting for a reply. Okay, when you do a call in real world example, when you do a phone call, you will wait for the other person to lift the call. You will wait, okay, until you get a response from the other party. When you send a message over WhatsApp or SMS or whatever it may be, okay, you may not get the message immediately. You may get it the message at immediately or at later point of time. Such kind of APIs, okay, which for which the responses from the server will not come immediately or may take time are called as asynchronous APIs. Okay, those are called as asynchronous APIs. So here The example for the synchronous APIs are examples for the example for synchronous API are getting the list of users. Okay. When you call the API, which will get you the list of users, okay, of the application who are enrolled in the application. That API call will give you the response immediately. Such kind of APIs are called as synchronous APIs. What will be the examples of asynchronous API? Uploading a file, okay, uploading a file, okay. When you are uploading a file, a API request will be done where, okay, you will not get the response immediately, but you will get a confirmation saying that the file has been uploaded. Okay, but the file is still processing, guys. Okay, uploading a file where the file is processing. You see, when you upload a very big file or video file or something, what will happen? The file will look like uploaded, but the processing will keep on going on until the processing is done. Until the processing is not completed, will not get a response. Okay, when the response from the server is getting delayed because of some reasons, like in this case, once you upload a file using no, okay, when you upload a file, no, client will not get the immediate response because the file is getting processed still. Okay, once the processing is completed, then you will get the response to the client side. Okay, such kind of APIs are called as asynchronous APIs. Okay, clear, guys? What are synchronous APIs and asynchronous APIs are clear for you? What is the difference between synchronous and asynchronous APIs is clear for you? Here, immediate response will come. Here, delayed response will be there. Okay, that's the only difference, guys. Okay, in interviews, this kind of questions may come, guys. You should also be aware of what are the different type of APIs and all those stuff. You should be able to categorize APIs in different aspects. Okay, so synchronous APIs and asynchronous APIs, you should know. Okay, fine. In synchronous API, the client who has sent the request will wait for the response. In asynchronous API, the client will not wait because the delayed response will be there. Okay, immediate and deferred or delayed. Okay, get the list of users here, uploading the file or batch processing of something, until that process is completed, will not get the response. Okay, fine. So, fine. Synchronous and asynchronous APIs is also done, guys. This theoretical topic is also done. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Move on to the next one after this. And I'll do one thing. I'll just, this image, right? I'll just do one thing. Here, I'll save this. Okay. This is a number is what, guys? Actually, the number is here. Okay, 1 minute. 10 and 11th one, right? 11. Okay. 11. Synchronous versus asynchronous APIs. Okay. Like this, I'll save this. I'll upload this here. Okay. Because the notes are required, right? Okay. The older file has some wrong thing, guys. Okay. That's why I didn't use that. Okay. Here, synchronous versus asynchronous. Okay. Uploaded. The next one, 12th. That is this one. Okay. There is also some small mistake in this example, but we can use this as a reference, guys. Okay, to some extent it is correct only, but not exactly correct. But at a high level, I'll use this as a reference while explaining. This is also important, guys. People may ask you in the interviews about this kind of things. Okay, the first thing that you have to understand is what JAX, JAX-RS, JAX. Where is that? RS is one thing. Okay. Next one is next thing here we have here is Spring MVC. Next item we have is the JXWS. And the next item we have is the Spring WS. Spring WS. Okay. These are the four items we have. JXRS, Spring MVC, JXWS, and Spring, not Sprint, guys. Okay. I'm writing Sprint here. I'll remove that. Don't worry. Spring MVC, not Sprint, Spring MVC. Okay. Spring MVC. Here, Spring WS. This one is Spring WS. Spring WS. Okay. Now, here is the thing. When I compare all these four items, you have to understand that this for REST style, REST APIs, okay, will be used by JAX-RS will be for REST APIs. Spring MVC is also for REST APIs. This for SOAP API. WS means, okay, SOAP APIs. And here, if we have JAX-RS means REST APIs. If you have WS means SOAP APIs. Here, Spring MVC for REST APIs. Spring WS for SOAP APIs. Okay, this is one thing you need to understand. Okay, to which style of APIs they are referring to. These are the famous ones, right? REST style and SOAP styles are the the popular styles of APIs that are there in the market that I covered in the previous session. Anyhow, but this JX-RS term belong to the REST APIs. Spring MVC belongs to the REST APIs. JXWS belong to the SOAP APIs, and Spring WS belong to the SOAP APIs. Okay, fine, all good so far. Now, what is JX-RS? I covered it at a high level in one of the previous sessions, guys. In the previous sessions, I covered the JX-RS at a high level. Okay, it is a library, guys. It is a library. Okay, which will expose the programming code at the server side, which will expose the programming code at the server side in the form of APIs. Okay. So what do I mean here? Okay, let me draw a diagram here. Let's say this is a client. This is a server. Okay, let's say this is a client and this is a server. When you when you hit a URL or do some operation on the web page, what will happen? A request will be sent to the server, right? And a response will come back. Here, what will be there at the server side? At the server side, some programming code will be there, right? The programming code written in some backend programming language like Java, Python, PHP, Perl, C Sharp, Ruby, JavaScript, whatever it can be. Possible programming, backend programming languages like Perl, Go, it can be anything. Okay. So there are different, some programming languages there. And, okay. And that too, guys, all these things, okay. That too, guys, all these things, that is JX-RS, Spring MVC, JXWS, Spring WS, are for which programming language do you think? They are for which programming language? Out of lot of backend programming languages, these items belong to which programming language do you think? Which programming language do you think, guys? Java. That's correct. They are for Java programming language. Okay. This is also for Java. This is also for Java. This is also for Java. Okay. Like for different programming language, alternative kind of things may be there. Okay. For Java programming language, for REST APIs, we have JXRS and Spring MVC. Okay. For Java programming language, for SOAP style APIs, we have JXWS and Spring WS. You can go to ChatGPT or Google and find out for different programming languages what are there. You can find it out. Okay. There will be a big list for every programming language. Some kind of things will be there. So here in this example, okay, in this example, guys, here the programming language is Java programming language. In this example, Java programming language is there. Okay, when the developer has written the backend programming code for this developing this application at the server side, okay, this is a client and this is a server. Okay, when the developer has written this code at the backend side using Java programming language, okay, this particular code need to be presented in the form of APIs, okay, so that the client can request, make a call to this API, right? And the response will be sent back, right? For that to happen, like the Java programming language should become the APIs, right? Okay, library is there, like, you can use a library, right? Per kind of REST API style, you have to use a library known as JX-RS library we have to use. JX-RS is a library which will convert the program into some kind of API callable code. Okay. Without this JX-RS library, the Java programming language cannot be hit by this API request. Okay. For the programming code to be, when a particular operation has been done, a request has been sent, it has to run some programming language means here JX-RS library is necessary. Okay. How? I'll explain that. Okay. So JX-RS, okay. JX-RS will convert the Java code at the server side to what? Okay, let's see here. For RESTful, or you see, now you are able to see the RESTful web services. Sometimes they will say REST API, sometimes they will say RESTful API. Okay, no matter what they will use, it's nothing but REST API or RESTful API or RESTful web service, all are same, right? When you use JAX-RS on the server side, it helps convert your annotated Java class methods into RESTful web service. Okay, so what happens? Some code will be there, guys. Okay, some code will be there, and this kind of library will be used. Okay, so here some JX, Java code with some JX-RS library has been used at the rate path. This kind of things are mentioned. Okay, then only you can make that API request. Okay, you see some path is mentioned, like slash users kind of path is mentioned, and in that some ID is there. We have to pass the ID here. You can also pass the ID in the path. It produces what? It should produce application JSON. Okay. Response content is JSON. Okay. So this particular code, when has been hit by the API request, should give the response in the form of application JSON. Okay. JSON format, it has to give the response. But when you hit the URL, you can call it using the users. Under that, you can pass the ID like that. Okay. So that's what you are saying. Base URI path is slash users. Get request is user slash 123. For this ID, you have to pass 123. And when you, from the client side, you will make this request, guys, okay? Slash user slash 123 kind of request will make. And this request will come to the server and, will hit this particular code because this code is enabled for receiving that request, API request, okay? That's what is the purpose of the Java X-RS library, okay? So when the client will create this request, okay, this request will go and hit this particular code because this code is enabled for with all these annotations and all, which library they belong to, JX-RS. Okay, how you are making this code accessible for that API request which has been hit from the client side by using this kind of request URL, because the code is enabled for receiving that API request by using this JX-RS kind of library. Okay. It maps Java code to HTTPS resources and operations. Your annotated Java methods are translated into HTTP endpoints, so clients can call them via RESTful APIs. Okay. Without this Java XRS, the client cannot call the RESTful APIs because RESTful APIs have to approach this code and hit the code, right? There should be some pass, right? How the RESTful APIs can hit the code. To hit the code, RESTful APIs have to use this JX-RS kind of annotations and identify the respective code and then run the appropriate code on the server side. And when the code runs on the server side, a response will be created and sent back in the form of whatever the format JX-RS will decide or mention in the code. You see, the response will be in the form of JSON. All these things. Endpoint means the point in server, okay, the code in server, which the API request will hit, okay, or run. That is called as an endpoint. Clear? What is a endpoint? An API request is coming from the client side, right? That should hit the endpoint. That means some code on the server side. That is otherwise known as an endpoint. Okay, that's why otherwise is known as an endpoint. Okay. So it will convert it to endpoints. Without this JX-RS, this Java code will not become an endpoint at the server side. Okay. Okay. JX-RS turns your Java methods into REST endpoints. Web accessible resources or something. These endpoints respond to HTTPS requests, that is API requests and all those stuff. And the code will be running and you'll get a response back. Okay. Clear everyone? What is an endpoint is clear for you? The code will be converted into the API endpoints. And API request will hit the endpoint and automatically run the code, okay, which is there in that endpoint at the server side. Okay, endpoint will be there at the server side, and this Java code also will be at the server side. But to make the Java code become a endpoint so that API request can hit it on the server side, okay, which library is required? JX-RS library is required. Clear now? I think everyone is clear, right? Here, Java programming language will be converted into something known as endpoints. Okay, endpoints. Okay. programming language methods or functions will be converted to endpoints with the help of JAX-RS library. And here API request will come from the client side. API request will come from the client side, and the API appropriate API request will hit the appropriate endpoint based on the annotations given by JAX-RS library for this Java programming language. Here JAX-RS library is also in the backend. Java programming language written for developing the application is also at the backend. Okay, from the front end you are getting the API request, for example, and here the endpoint which is created with help of Java XR library by converting the programming language into the with annotations and all to showcase as an endpoint will be done. Without this JXRS library for REST API calls, okay, if this API request is REST, then JXRS library will be there. Okay, if in case this is so, instead of JXRS you will have JXWS library will be there. Okay, getting my point, guys? Here API response will go back. API response. Okay, you can explore more about this concept, guys. Okay, I'm just explaining at a high level in the point of view of this what is JX, RS, and all those stuff. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. Okay, so I'll do one thing. Okay, I'll take care of this. So JX-RS is a library which will convert the Java program code, okay, into the endpoints at the server side. Okay, now REST API request will hit these endpoints at the server side. Okay, and then appropriate code at the server side will run, Java code at the server side will run, okay, and then we'll give a response. Okay, then what is Spring MVC then? Then what is Spring MVC? This is also for REST APIs. Have you seen something like something known as a Spring framework, guys? Do you know anything about Spring framework? Java Spring framework. In Java we have Spring framework, right? Developers will use this framework, okay, to build bigger sized applications like enterprise level applications, right? Yeah, Spring Boot or something, okay? Spring framework in Java. If you type here, you'll get the information, okay? The Boot or Spring Framework, whatever we call generally, is one of the most powerful and widely used frameworks in Java for building enterprise level applications. Okay, if you want to use Java as a programming language for building a complex applications like enterprise level applications, normal Java is not enough, guys. In that, in Java programming, in advanced Java, there comes a topic known as Spring Framework. Using that, developers will build such kind of applications. Okay, if you are building such kind of applications with the help of Spring Framework in Java, right, then we cannot take the help of JX-RS. We need something bigger. Okay, that is nothing but what, guys? Spring MVC is required. Okay, Spring MVC is one of the component in Spring framework. Okay, when you are developing the code with the help of Java programming code for building enterprise level applications with the help of Spring framework in Java. Okay, in place of the JX-RS, we have to use Spring MVC to convert this Java code. Okay, Spring framework Java code into the endpoints at the server side. Clear? To convert the Java code, okay, which is created with help of Spring framework kind of thing, to the endpoints at the server side. In place of the JX-RS, we have to use something known as Spring MVC, which belongs to the Spring framework in Java. Okay, Spring framework in Java by default will come with the Spring MVC, using which the regular Java code built using Spring framework can be converted into the endpoints, API endpoints at the server side. Everyone clear with this Spring MVC now? Everyone clear about the Spring MVC? So Spring MVC, Spring framework in Java comes with a module known as Spring MVC. Okay, okay, to convert Java code into endpoints. Okay, here also JX-RS is a library which will convert the Java code at the server side into API endpoints. Okay, same thing here also, but if you are using Spring framework similar to JX-RS, Spring framework will come with some kind of modular component known as Spring MVC, which will actually do the job of JX-RS in case of building the applications with the help of Spring framework. Now Same thing, guys. In place of JAX-RS for SOAP APIs, for REST style of APIs, JAX-RS and Spring MVC are there. But for SOAP APIs, for normal Java programming, okay, okay, we have to use these for SOAP style APIs. APIs developers use when developers use normal Java programming for building applications. Okay. Okay. What about this one? This is for SOAP style APIs when developers use not normal one. They will use Spring framework. Spring framework. Okay. Okay. For building enterprise level applications. Okay. Enterprise level applications. Okay. And here you need to understand something like Spring framework in Java, okay, comes with a module known as Spring, what was that? WS to convert Java code into endpoints. Okay, to convert Java code into endpoints. Okay, Spring framework not only comes with Spring MVC, it also comes with Spring WS. Okay, it comes with Spring WS, guys. Okay, there's a spelling mistakes here. Just ignore, guys. Ignore spelling mistakes here. Okay, I was writing sprint, and all those stuff. It should be Spring, guys. Spring WS. Okay, and here also Spring. Write Spring here. Spring. Okay. And here also some other places it's also there. And you're doing some mistakes here. That's okay. Habituated to type sprint actually. Okay. That's why it's coming. Okay. Here what are they? Here sprint came. I have to convert into Spring. Spring. Here Spring is there. That's okay. Okay. Everything is good now. Yeah. Done. Clear, guys? Everyone clear with this? The difference between JAX-RS, Spring MVC, JXWS, Spring WS is clear for everyone? Why they are required? Is it clear? Guys, it is clear. Just type see in the chat box if it is clear for you. JAX-RS, Spring MVC are from REST API styles, APIs. JXWS and Spring WS are for SOAP APIs. Okay. So here one more thing I need to write, that is a Spring framework I need to write. Okay. Spring framework. Okay. Spring framework. And write Spring framework. Okay. Converting the Java code. Okay. Converting the Java code into the API endpoints will be possible with the help of these things. Okay. Why JX-RS, Spring MVC, JXWS, Spring WS are used? They will convert the Java code at the server side into API endpoints. Okay. So at a high level, I can write like this. Okay. All of the above things. Okay. Okay. All of the above things will convert the Java code at the server side into API endpoints at the server side. Okay. Server side code, Java code will be converted into API endpoints. Then only the API calls can be made. Then only what happened here? Just give me a second. Something happened here. Okay, something is gone wrong. It's gone completely down. I don't know. Okay, this will not come though. I'll delete this and write again. size got decreased somehow. All of the above are used for converting, okay, converting or presenting the Java code at the server side as a API endpoints at the server side only. Okay. All of the above are used for converting or presenting the Java code to the server side as the API endpoints at the server side only. Okay. Yes, correct. Okay. One example. Okay. Example. Okay. This is the example. Okay. Example is this diagram. This diagram is the example. Now what I will do here is I'll just take this and just give me a second. It's not doing fine. Okay. I'll do one thing. I'll just close this and here I'll delete this one, guys. Okay. I'll delete this one. This has some wrong information, so I have to delete that. I'll be creating new Google Doc, create and share, 12.jxrs Spring MVC JXWS Spring WS. Okay, this what is the thing. So what I'll do here is I'll just go here and capture these images. Okay, let's do like this. I'll just post them here in this document, and another diagram is also there. Here also I'll post. The next item here we have is this one, that is example. Okay, and that also I'll post here, and also in the image here. Done. Okay, that's it. These are the notes for this one. Okay, so we are not losing any notes. That's good. So step by step, we are going to learn these things, guys. Okay, synchronous versus asynchronous APIs. I covered, I covered the difference between REST APIs, RESTful APIs, and RESTful web services. People will ask the questions like this: What is the difference between REST API, RESTful API, and RESTful web services? You have to answer that accordingly. Then they may ask you the questions about synchronous APIs and versus asynchronous APIs, or they may ask you about what are these JAX-RS, Spring MVC, Spring WS or JXWS, they'll ask you. Okay, they're very simple concepts, guys. If you don't know, you'll not be able to answer. Simple. The next thing we have here is web APIs, local APIs, and program APIs, and there are other types of APIs also, guys. Okay, there are other types of APIs also. Let's look into that. Okay, so the next item that I'm going to cover here is web APIs. Okay, local APIs and program APIs otherwise. Okay, and others. I'll say others. Okay. So we'll discuss those things here. Okay, we'll discuss those things here. GraphQL already covered, right, Atul? Have you not attended the session? GraphQL I already attended. I already explained, sorry. No, in the previous sessions, not today. If you can go through the previous session, you can understand it, okay? Have you attended the previous session, Atul? Okay, fine. You check it out. Okay. In the previous session, I covered it already. So just go there and understand, try to understand. Fine, that's okay. So here, we can also categorize the APIs, okay? Like this also, okay? You can also categorize APIs as web APIs. The APIs which will work on the top of the internet using this HTTPS protocol or our network, okay, using this internet protocol are generally called as web APIs, which are otherwise called as web services, right? They are generally called as web services, okay? So that you already know. What are web APIs? Any API which works on the top of the internet is called as web APIs, okay? For example, if you are using this website, purefox.com website, okay? when I hit something, or if you use this particular application, let's say, and if I try to log into the application by giving some credentials, let's say, if I try to log into the application by giving some credentials, what will happen? A request will be sent to the server over what? Do I have the server in my computer machine? Do you have the server in my computer machine? This is the front end, right? The client and front end is there this side. What will happen in this case, guys? Tell me. When I log into the application, a request will be sent to whom? Server. Over what? Over internet. This kind of APIs can be categorized as web APIs. Okay. I'll just draw all this stuff here. First variety of APIs are web APIs. Okay. Web APIs. APIs. Okay. Which travel over internet between client and server are known as web APIs. Okay, the APIs which travel over internet, or okay, API calls which happen, or response request and response call which happen over the internet between client and server are known as web APIs. These are one type of APIs. Okay, then what is the next variety we have? The next variety we have here is local APIs. Okay, the second category we have is a local APIs. What are local APIs? The example for the local APIs are the operating system. Okay, Windows operating system. Okay, next one is a local APIs. Okay, what are local APIs? You can see that here. Okay, example for this web API will be like this. Okay, like this. Example for the web API will be like this. I'll do one thing. I'll just you know go here and take a capture of this, and you know I'll just come here and paste it, and then drag it here. Okay, for the example. Okay, the example will be like this. Then we have second category as second type as local APIs. Okay, what are local APIs? People, you should have the knowledge, guys. Okay, you should have the knowledge of what are the different variety of APIs, and you should be able to categorize APIs at different types. Okay, the next category we have is the local APIs, guys. APIs that are accessible within the local environment, or on the same machine, or over the network, that are not exposed over the internet, are called as local APIs. Okay, APIs that are only accessible within the local environment. APIs that are only accessible, okay, in that within the local environment, within the local environment, or called as, okay, local APIs, or called as local APIs. Examples is operating system APIs. Okay, APIs for accessing the hardware like camera and file system. If you have a mobile phone, in that your software is actually communicating with the camera, right? Or file system of the mobile phone or something, or in your laptop also, some kind of options will be there. Okay, such kind of APIs accessing the, are called as local APIs. Okay, so for suppose Windows operating system is using this kind of API call to get the time and display the time. Okay, such kind of APIs using Windows APIs to access the system time. Okay, so this call will be made by the Windows operating system internally in its local environment. Okay, once you have the OS, where the OS will be installed, guys, in your computer machine in a local place, right? Now, okay, when you want to get the, if you go here and say time or something, or if you click how the time is coming here, 7:56 p.m. on 24/5/2025, how it is coming? The Windows operating system is making an API call here and displaying the time here. Okay, and it's making the call internally, locally only. Okay, locally it's making the call. Such kind of APIs generally used in operating system APIs and all are called as local APIs, guys. Okay, local APIs, desktop applications, embedded systems. Okay, internal systems where security isolation is required. Okay, all this comes under the local APIs. Okay, example is operating system APIs. Okay, operating system APIs is one of the famous example. Okay, uh, operating system APIs is the example. Operating system APIs are called as local APIs. Okay. Simple thing is in the local environment, whatever the API calls generally happen, right? Okay. If you want to get more details about this, right here, you will get more information. Okay. Local APIs are the interfaces that allow communication between software components on the same device or internal network without using the internet or external networks. Okay. Okay. Between programs or between software and hardware. Okay. Same machine or private network. No internet will be there. Okay. Directly the calls will be made within the system. Okay. Within that program or code. Operating system API interfaces to OS level functions like memory, file system, and processes. OS software will make the calls, API calls to this memory, file system, and all those stuff. Okay, like this. This is also an example of a local API. Okay, this is called as a local API. Like that, many it is a very extensive topic, guys. At least one example, if I can give, you are more than good, guys. Okay, if you can give this example, that's more than enough, guys. Okay, you don't have to go behind this. Okay, you don't have to go behind this example. This much is more than enough, guys. Okay, this much is more than enough. You are not here to do the PhD, right? So at least to get started, this much is more than enough. So you see, if you keep digging, right, a lot of things will come and all. Okay. Then program APIs. Another type of APIs we have are the program APIs, guys. Okay. Let's write the program APIs here. Other category we have here is the program APIs. Okay. Next one is program APIs. Okay. What are program APIs? Like they are like library guys. Okay. So when you use Java library or any third party library, right? The library will expose some predefined classes, interfaces, variables, and methods, right? So interfaces provided by software libraries allowing you to interact with particular piece of the software within your code base is called as program APIs. Okay. It's like a library. Java, Java library. Okay. Java library is an example of, okay. So simple thing is programming language. Okay. Libraries built for using programming languages. Okay. Languages. Okay. Libraries built for using programming languages are program APIs. Okay. APIs. Okay. Here library will be there. In this library, some kind of commands will be there. Okay. When you hit the commands, okay, the internal programming language will be there. Okay. Okay. That will be running. Okay. Predefined code that is written by the developers will run when you hit that command in the form of methods, method calling statements or something. And such kind of API calls which will make the necessary, code to run is called as program APIs. Okay. For example, here names.add. Here add method is there or here class is there. Okay. All the predefined stuff. Array list is there, list is there, add is there. This is a predefined method in Java library. List is a predefined interface in Java library. Array list is a predefined class in Java library. And when you use them, internally, some API calls will be made. Okay. Internally, some program API calls will be made. Okay. These are like programming libraries. So let's do one thing. Let me go here and provide this as an example. Okay. Let me go here and provide this as an example for API. If you have learned any programming language, you will understand that. Okay. What is that local host? I don't know. What is that local host? I don't know. I don't have any idea what is local host means. You are asking me a question. What is local host? No, no, that is a different thing. Local host is a different thing. That's not correct. Are you saying local host or whatever Atul is saying? I am not able to get it. Okay. The programming language. Okay. Any programming language. For example, if I use one programming language, okay, I'll show you one example of this program API. Okay. Program API here. Even though if you don't know any programming language also, you'll understand. Just wait for a while. Okay, so if I go here and launch it, let's wait. Guys, here there is one project. Okay, Java project. Here one library is there. Can you see this library? Guys, can you see this library in this Java project? And here there are some files are there, okay? I'll go with one of the file like first Java program or something. In this first Java program, okay, this is very complex, so literals or something or anything, I'll use something that is kind of good here. Okay, let's use this one. Let's use this one, okay? You see, as a developer, I'm writing the code in Java programming language. Okay, this code is written by me, let's say. Assume that. If you don't know programming language also, you'll be able to understand this, guys. Don't worry. Ignore the code, what is there here. Only focus on the concept that I'm trying to explain, okay? Here, when I'm writing this code here, I'm using some predefined stuff here. System. What is this system? What is this out? What is this println? They all belong to the Java library. Okay, system is there in this library. Okay, Java developers. Okay, okay, Java, we don't have to start everything from scratch, right? Java developers have created this library for you. Okay, using this library, you have to write the Java programs. You don't have to write the Java programs from scratch. From nothing, you cannot write, right? You have to use something. But who has created the system class? Who has developed the system class? The developers of the Java, that is from Oracle company, have developed the system class. If you go down here and go to the java.base or java.lang or something, and in this I know the path, so I'm going. You don't have to know that, literally know the path here. I'm just want to show you that here, if you clearly see somewhere here, there's something known as system. Can you see the system.class here? Guys, in this particular Java library developed by the Java developers of the Oracle company, can you see the system.class at some path here in that library file? Can you see the system.class? Guys, can you see the system.class? Yes or no? Yes, right? I'm using it. Guys, I'm using it here. System.out.println I'm using, okay? All these are already developed by the Java developers as part of developing the Java software itself for me. Java programming language has been developed by Java developers of the Oracle company. While developing them, they created a lot of stuff like this, like system.class and all those stuff. And I'm simply reusing that. Here, when I reuse this in the programming code, when I write this logic for my purpose, like I want to print the value of this variable a, that 5 should be printed here, right? For that printing the value of this variable a, I'm using this statement. But did I develop this? Did I develop the system class? Guys, did I develop the system class? Did I develop the system class? Yes or no? No, right? Java developers of the Oracle company has developed it and developed this and put it in this particular file known as system.class. I didn't write all this code. This code is already written by the Java developers. But how come the code I have written here is working? When I write this particular system, it is making an API call, internal API call to this system class here in the Java library that is there in this project. How that API call is called as program API. Now able to understand what is program API? Guys, what is program API is clear? The predefined methods and stuff of the programming language were put into library. Okay. And when you write the code using some programming language, that predefined things when you call, the calls will be made, API calls will be made to the library. And those kind of APIs are called as program APIs. Okay. One example where program APIs will be used in programming languages. Yeah, maybe that also can be any language you take, that will be there. Yeah. Fine. Then we also have other type of APIs like hardware APIs, APIs that allow software to interact with hardware components. Okay, you connect one printer machine to your computer machine, and you give a print instruction. A request will be sent to the hardware device printer, right? Right. So printer APIs or an example of the hardware APIs. Other type of APIs, different type of APIs will be there, guys. The more you learn, the more you will get to know. One are web APIs, other one is local APIs, other one is program APIs. Okay. Most of the cases will work with which type of APIs, guys? Most of the cases we work with which type of APIs? Out of these three, which one we generally most of the times will work with? Web APIs. Okay. So here we have hardware APIs, okay? The APIs which will make the calls to the hardware devices from the computer machine are called as hardware APIs, okay? APIs that allow software to interact with hardware components. APIs which allow software, okay, to interact with hardware components, say printers, etc. are called as hardware APIs, okay? Hardware APIs. Printer APIs is an example of hardware APIs, okay? Printer APIs are examples like USB communication, or when you put a pen drive or something, whatever it may be, any hardware device that you put will come under the, okay, examples of the hardware APIs. Yeah, you can, you are getting a lot of questions, Parth, whatever may be, Parth, or, Atul, or whatever it may be. You can search on Google, guys, okay? You see, my responsibility is to teach you what are the different variety of APIs we can classify. Later, whatever the questions you have, you don't have to depend on me, right? You already have known the concept. Even I don't know. Suddenly, if you ask me what is a device drivers, how can I know? I cannot know it, right? You have to explore yourself. That is a question you got. You have to explore yourself. Go to ChatGPT or Google and find out. Okay, device drivers fall into the web APIs or local APIs, or some kind of answer you will get it, right? Why it is falling into the program API or something. Okay, you have to do it by yourself, guys. Okay, I cannot take hundreds of examples online. I cannot, I cannot act like a computer and tell you a straightforward answer like, okay, this kind of things will fall into local APIs. This kind of things will fall into the program APIs. This kind of things will come into the web APIs. I cannot tell you. At a high level, I can tell you that if you ask me about this login functionality, I can tell that web APIs. But behind that, a lot of type of APIs are there. How can I know that which will fall into which APIs? Okay, you have to find it out by yourself. Okay, with the basic knowledge I'm giving to you in these sessions, you should be able to find out which APIs they are falling into. Okay, no one can explain that. Okay, no one can give the answers, straightforward answers for your questions. You have to explore yourself. Okay, whatever the doubts you are getting are genuine doubts, but you have to explore yourself without depending on me, guys. Okay, because as a human being, I cannot know all the stuff. Okay, maybe ChatGPT will know that, or Google will know that. You can find it out. Okay, then database APIs. Okay, other category of APIs that we can classify into the are nothing but the database APIs, guys. Okay, next category is database APIs. What are database APIs? API calls which can be made, okay, to connect with the databases are called as. Example is JDBC. In Java programming, we have JDBC, right? Java database connectivity, okay, or ODBC, okay, Oracle database connectivity. Like they can connect with the database from the programming language or software you are connecting to the, okay, from the applications or programming language. The API calls are making into the database, okay, using some query language like SQL or something, or called as database APIs. Okay, whenever you are making a SQL query, some API calls will be there, guys. Okay, what happens here? If I have to draw a diagram here at a small level, I'll draw. There will be a client machine, there will be a server machine, there will be a database. Okay, so otherwise I'll draw the database like this. There is a database here at the back side of the server. Let's say, assume that this is a thing. Okay, and when you make a request from the client to the server, and a response will come back to the client machine. But assume that this particular request made to the client server machine, the request made to the server machine need to actually get the details from the database. Let's say, okay, the server, the code that is running here, some Java programming code or something is there. It need to make an SQL call. It need to make a SQL query to the database. Okay, to one of the table in the database, a SQL query need to be made. How the Java programming will, will actually run a SQL query on this table in the one of the table in the database with the help of API call, database API calls. Okay, here, okay, database API calls will be done. These calls, okay, will be doing what? SQL query will be done. Okay, some SQL query call will be made on the table. Okay, who is responsible for running the SQL query on the table from the Java code that is there in the server machine? This database API call. Okay, so this kind of APIs which will allow the code or application to interact with the database of the applications are called as database APIs at a high level. Okay, APIs that allow applications to communicate with the databases using some query languages or function calls are called as. Okay, you can write it here, or I'll just copy paste here so that you can understand. Okay, APIs that allows applications to communicate with the databases using query languages. Okay, like this SQL query or whatever it is, or called as database APIs. Clear, everyone? Examples are JDBC. For Java language, from Java programming language, if an API call need to be made on the database, we will use JDBC from the programming. Then ODBC is also there. Okay, ODBC for Oracle database connectivity. Okay, from the okay, ODBC is also there. Okay, some other things. Fine. Then next one. Again, you see things are repeating as operating system APIs can also be called as local APIs. One of the example of the local APIs is operating system APIs, right? Okay, APIs provided by the OS to allow applications to perform low-level operations for file handling, process control are called as okay operating system APIs, and this one I'll explain anyhow. Partner, open, and private I'll explain later. Okay, most of the APIs are covered, guys. Okay, and many others will be there. Okay, I'll just write down here and many others. Okay, if you keep on doing R&D, right, you'll get a lot of other type of APIs, guys. Okay, if you keep on doing R&D, you'll get many other types of APIs, but these are the something that you can be aware of. Okay, clear, everyone? Some types of APIs, how to categorize is clear for you. Another way of categorizing the APIs is clear for you. If you keep digging, a lot of variety of APIs will keep on coming. That's up to your exploration. How much you want to explore, it's up to you. Okay. To our knowledge, this much is more than enough, guys. Okay. More than this, you don't have to go. Okay. So good number of API types we already have done. Some R&D or research. So this you can use, guys. Okay. This you can use. Another way of categorizing the APIs. Okay, another way of categorizing the types of APIs. Okay, so here I'll go here and then instead of writing this, I'll just delete this one, and the 13th one, the notes were not correct there, so older notes there. I'm just changing the thing so that we'll get the proper details now. So this is like 13, right? So 13. Okay, let's write that. Okay, other way to categorize API types. Okay, and this is the one. This image is the one. Okay, that's the answer for that. Okay, so this is also done. It's done or not? Okay, done. If I open this, the image should come. Then it is okay. Yeah, it's okay. Then next one, single path APIs and multipath APIs. Okay, what are single path APIs and multipath APIs? The next concept is what? Single path APIs. Sorry. Single path APIs, and other side we have multi path APIs. So to understand the single path APIs and multi-path APIs, I'm going to give an example. Let's take a hotel example. Okay. You visited one hotel, guys. You visited one hotel which serve different stuff like, pizzas, pastas, pastries, and all those stuff. Okay. So now you visited this particular one and one hotel. You were there standing at the counter, one of the counter. Only one counter is there. Let's assume for this particular hotel, only one counter is there. You went before the counter and for you requested for what? Four pizzas, two pastas, okay? Then three pastries, okay? Cakes or pastries, whatever you call, okay? Like this you requested. In a single go you requested, guys. In a single counter, you placed the order. At a one go, you placed the order. Such kind of API calls, which will place a lot of stuff in a single API call, are called as single path APIs. But in case of multi-path APIs, let's say this is a hotel and you went to the hotel and you are standing here. Okay, there are multiple counters here. This is a pizza counter, this is a pasta counter, this is a pastries counter. Okay, what do you have to do in this case, guys? What do you have to do in this case? You have to go to the respective counter. You have to make an API call here asking for four pizzas separately. You have to place the pizzas order separately. Then you have to make an API call here separately for that is a pastas. Okay, two pastas. Okay, you have to make a separate API call for pastas here. Okay, then another separate API call you have to make for three pastries. Okay, so this kind of APIs are called as which APIs, guys? Multipath APIs. Okay, example of the single path APIs is GraphQL. GraphQL is an example. Okay, one API style which is an example of example. Okay, GraphQL is kind of API style which follow the single path API type of style. Whereas multipath API style example is REST API. Okay, REST style APIs. Okay, we'll use multi-path API style. For every separate, if you want pastas, there will be a separate API call. If you want pizzas, there will be separate API call. If you want pastries, there will be a separate API call. Multiple things. Okay, for multiple things, multiple calls you have to make here. Okay, for multiple things, for multiple things, we have to make multiple API calls. Okay, such kind of APIs are called as multipath APIs. Here, in case of single path APIs, for multiple things, okay, for multiple things to get, we can make a single API call also. Using single API call, we can get the multiple things. Got it, guys? We can make a single API call for getting the multiple things from the server or something. Here, this hotel is nothing but server and this is a client or something. Okay, here client is there for getting multiple things. Separate calls need to be made. Able to understand the difference between single path APIs and multiple path APIs, guys? Guys, able to understand the difference between single path APIs and multiple path APIs? I'm going to give you the examples of single path APIs, okay, and multi-path APIs with examples. You see, for different thing, for orders you have to make a separate call. For friends you have to make a separate call. 1, 2, 3 you have to make a separate call. Okay. I want easy and better examples. Single path APIs are like this. Okay. You have to provide everything in a single go. You'll get all the stuff. Okay. Multiple path APIs. Okay. Get user by ID. Get user. This separate multipath APIs will have users 1, 2, 3. Users 1, 2, 3 orders. Users. Users 1, 2, 3 for deleting and all the stuff. Here, single path API. Not still very simple, quick way to build API. Single path. Clear, organized, scalable API structure. Multiple path, RESTful. Okay. REST APIs will use this kind of stuff. Everything in one flat folder. Okay. Multiple path APIs. Neatly organized folders and subfolders. Okay. Still not able to understand. Let's go for a better example. Still not able to understand. Okay, let's see. So that will give you more explanation and you have users and each user can place food orders. Get info about user one. Get orders placed by user one. Place orders for user one. Okay. Give me one user. Now give me this their orders. Now place an order. Multipath APIs. Get info about user one. Get orders placed by user one. Place an order for user one. This is like putting user info and orders into folders. Okay. Okay. Get user. Single path API will be like this. Multipath API will be like this. Okay. And for the user one, you have to get the order and all those stuff. Here, get users, orders, ID is equal to 1. Separate things are there. Okay. Single path, each action has its own custom path, like asking someone different questions each time. Okay, someone different questions each time. Multiple paths are structured like folders, like browsing a file system. Okay, so something I'm missing here. Don't compare with any other stuff, microservices and all. Don't compare. Maybe kind of, but we cannot compare such like. Okay, these are concepts which we cannot compare with complex concepts like microservices. All those stuff. Okay, so that is a wrong way of communicating. Different concepts, different thing you are implementing. Okay, that's not the correct way. We need to understand the proper one, guys. Okay, uh, GraphQL falls into which category? And REST APIs falls into which category? Okay, single path, single path, or multipath. Okay, let's see. REST APIs are multipath APIs. GraphQL is single path API. Okay, so this is one thing you need to understand. Example I already gave, right, to confirm. Example is GraphQL is single path API. REST APIs are, but we need proper examples. Okay, REST APIs are multipath APIs. This is an example. Okay. In REST APIs, we'll use this kind of stuff. Straightforward, multiple path APIs will be there. Each action or resource has its own URL. Okay. That means you will go to the respective counter for whatever you want to get. Okay. Separate endpoints will be there. Okay. If you want to get the user win ID, there is separate endpoint. Okay. If you want to get the orders of the user one, you have separate endpoint. Okay. So post users or delete the users, we have separate endpoints. Okay, this kind of things are multiple path APIs. Okay, then GraphQL, simple path API, single endpoint, you'll get everything. Post GraphQL, you'll get everything. Okay, inside one path, you will send a query to ask for what you want. Okay, with you see, in a single API call, you will ask for user ID, name, orders, and you'll get the complete thing at a go. Got it, guys? Okay, for every separate thing, we have a separate endpoint here in case of REST APIs. But in case of GraphQL, single query, and based on this JSON request you will send, JSON request body you will send, you will get all the information in single go. Okay, that is what is GraphQL. Okay, so maybe this is a proper example, guys. Okay, let me paste this URL for you. I don't know whether I can adjust it here. Okay, maybe this one is okay. And here coming to the GraphQL, it's kind of easy, simple. Single API call will be made. In that, you will send all the things that you want at a single go. You don't have to create separate API calls here. For ID, you don't need a separate API call. For name, you don't need a separate API call. For orders, you don't need a separate API call. In a single thing, you are sending everything, and you will get the response in a single response. Okay. Okay. I can make like this, but this is also very big size. Don't know how can I accommodate here. I can make it small, and I can drag this here. I can also make this small, and we'll try to drag it here so that it can get adjusted. Okay. Yeah, this is good. Clear, guys? Everyone clear with the single path APIs and multiple path APIs with these examples, right? In a single request, you are asking for all the details. Okay, sorry, I have drawn it at wrong places, right? So this is like single. This should go this side and this should go this side. Okay, that's the problem. I'll take it this side. and this one. Okay, I'll just take it this side so that I can get this side. Okay, now it's okay. Now it's okay. Okay, this is fine. Okay. Yeah, this is okay. This is okay. Okay. Single path APIs, this is example. GraphQL example. Okay. Multiple path APIs, REST API calls. Okay. For every separate thing, separate call you have to make. I'll just post this here, and also Telegram I'll post, and also I'll post in the here. Create this single path APIs versus multiple multi-path APIs. Okay. 14 single path APIs versus multi-path APIs. Okay, the answer is this one. Done. Good. Okay. Okay, then the next one we have is public. This is correct only. In this image, whatever that is provided in the notes is correct only, guys. Okay. If any mistakes are there in the notes, I'm correcting them before you. Anyhow, the next category for us to divide the API types is public APIs, partner APIs, and private APIs. In one of the previous sessions, I already covered this, but let me repeat this for you. Let me repeat this for you guys. Okay. What are the different varieties? Public APIs. Other one is partner APIs. And the other one is what? Private APIs. Okay. What is the difference between public APIs? Any APIs which are created by one company and they are made public to anyone to use in the world. Okay. Are called as public APIs. Okay. Any APIs. Okay. Which are open to public for using are called as public APIs. Example is simple example. Only one example is Google Maps is example. Okay. Any website company can use a Google Map because Google Maps is made public by Google company to everyone. Whoever is building the application, they can actually integrate the Google Maps in their applications. Okay. The next one, partner APIs. Any APIs which are having limited access. I mean, not limited. Okay. Which are accessible. Any APIs which are accessible to only few outside companies for which the agreements are called as partner APIs. For example is Make My Trip. Make My Trip. Make My Trip is like partnership APIs are Indigo website. Make My Trip is using Indigo flight APIs. Okay, Indigo company is providing its APIs to the Make My Trip so that Make My Trip is a travel website which can not only show the API flight details of the Indigo but also different web airlines, right? So Make My Trip is one example which is partnering with the different type of flight companies like Indigo or AirAsia is using AirAsia. Like the different website companies are right. Ease My Trip is there, Make My Trip is there. Such kind of only with limited kind of companies. This flight companies are exposing their APIs. Okay, this Indigo, Indigo flight company, AirAsia flight company, or any other flight company is making agreements with travel websites like Make My Trip, Ease My Trip, and so on. Okay, Skyscanner. Okay, such kind of different websites are there. Only that websites are eligible for showing the flight details of these different companies. Okay, so for that, partnering with the Make My Trip, Indigo and AirAsia and other flight companies are partnering with different type of travel websites like Make My Trip, Is My Trip, and all those stuff. Okay, so in that case, partner APIs. It's not open for public, entire public. If I want to create a website and want to show the flight details of Indigo, it's not possible for me because I'm not a partner with Indigo. Only the Make My Trip, Ease My Trip companies, okay, who are partners with these flight companies can only do that. We cannot do it. Simple. Another one is private APIs. Private APIs means the APIs which are used locally, okay, without sharing to anyone, okay, even to partners also. There is no partners here in this case, okay. Public APIs, partner APIs, and private APIs. Private, private APIs. APIs available to everyone usually over the internet. No special access or permissions are needed to use the APIs are called as public APIs. Google Maps is one example, or different things will be there. Partner APIs that are shared with selected business partners like Indigo flight company with selected business partners like Make My Trip and all. Okay, or partner APIs. Then private APIs are APIs used internally by the company, only accessible inside the organization within its app or services. Okay, APIs used internally by same company in its own applications, okay, are known as private APIs. APIs used internally by same company in its own applications is called as private. They will not be exposed to public. Okay. Example. Any example are there? Okay. So let's say Amazon. Amazon.com. APIs of the Amazon.com are internally used by its own applications like Amazon.com, Amazon mobile application, and all those stuff. But they are not shared with Flipkart or any other company, right? You cannot use them. Amazon company will not share the APIs of their application to anyone else, okay, in the market. Let's assume, okay, their actual code where you can search for their products and all, they are not sharing with anyone. Let's assume, okay, if they are internally using are called as private APIs. Okay, only internal teams can use the private APIs. Everyone clear with this? Public, partner, and private APIs is clear for everyone. Already covered this, but again it has come in a detailed manner. I wanted to cover, so I covered here. The next one. Okay, fine. The next thing here is different ways in which API documentation is shared to start API testing in your company. Okay, the image is missing here. That's okay. But I know what the image should contain. Different ways in which, okay, APIs are shared by developers with the testing team in the companies where you are working. Tomorrow, if you join a company and you are asked to perform API testing, okay, from the developer, the API details should be shared. Yes or no? The developers have to create these APIs for you, okay, using whatever the backend code that they have developed at the server side, okay, using some kind of things like JAX-RS, JAX-WS, or whatever it may be. They will be creating some API endpoints, and at the end of the day, they'll prepare some documentation. Okay, the developers of of the company of the project where you are working, right, they'll be creating some API documentation, and that document should be shared to you. In which formats they may share the document with you all? What do you think? In which formats do you think the developers will share this API details that you will use for testing purpose later? In which formats they may share with you? Yes. Okay. One is Word document. They may share this all this API details like API request, the API method, the input data that you have to give for the API, the expected response code, expected response, all those things will be documented in a Word document and they can share with you. Or they can share the things in an Excel document also. Okay? Excel or Word documents. They may also give, yes, Swagger. Swagger, okay? Swagger is a professional one, guys, okay? Swagger also, Swagger type of documentation also, they will give the proper way of documenting the APIs. Okay, if in very big companies, the big projects when you work with, generally the developers of the big companies and big projects will share you the API details in the by documenting them using a tool known as Swagger. Okay, Swagger. Then any other ways developers may share? JSON is one way. JSON files they will share with you. JSON files having all this API information will be there. Yeah, WSDL. Yes, WSDL files in case of SOAP API. That's also correct, Ashish. Yes. Any other ways? Any other ways, guys? Word document, Excel document, Swagger, JSON, WSDL. Okay. They may use a website page. Can they use a website page? Website page. Okay. On the website page also they can share. Then what else they can share with? Test management tools. Test management tools like test management tools like Jira. Some Jira pages can be there on that. They can share some documentation about the APIs that you have to perform testing, or they can use something like what are the different test management tools we have in the market apart from Jira. From UFT, what was the tool, guys? Yeah, version one is one. Version one. HP, ALM, correct, etc., etc. Okay, different test management tools also they can use, or Confluence. Anyone heard about this Confluence pages? Confluence website, have you seen anywhere? No? Did, okay, Confluence is another one. Jira is already written. Okay, and many other ways. Many other ways. Okay, so what the API documentation will contain? You are asking me, right? Okay. So Srinivas is asking me one question here. That is an apt question. What does this Word document or Excel document containing the details of API? What type of details that okay will contain? Okay, I cannot recreate the document for you, but I'll take the help of the Chat GPT and we'll show you how it will look like. Okay, let's say the developer who has built the application build the application want to share the API details to the testing team so that testing team can perform testing using the API details in the documentation for testing the application built by the developer. Okay, what if the developer shares this API details? What details about the APIs will be shared by developer to the tester? Okay, let's see. It will give you some examples, guys. Okay, when the developer shares APIs details with the testing team, they are basically handing over the API documentation or specification so that testers can test the backend functionality without the need of, because front end UI will take some time. So API documentation without the UI part will be there. So here, first thing is the base URL. It's the endpoint. Okay. Okay. When you hit this URL, it will hit the endpoint, guys. Okay. When you hit this URL, okay, it will hit the endpoint. This URL is nothing but the address of the endpoint. Otherwise, okay. Base URL is the address of the endpoint, API endpoint. Okay, which is there in the server side. Okay. Base URL, API base URL. Okay, then endpoint paths, like you have to append this part with users, append that path with, I can show you guys. Okay, otherwise I'll show you here request.in. If you go to this sample website And if you come down here, you have different examples, right? I'll go with this register successful kind of thing. So this is an endpoint, okay? Sorry, path, okay? Just give me a second where I am. So confusing, right? That's okay. Endpoint paths, okay? The specific routes for each action, okay? Base URL is there. Can I see the base URL here? Is this a base URL? Tell me, guys. Is this a base URL? Slash API slash register is a base URL, do you think? Slash API slash a register is a base URL? No, it's not the base URL. What is the base URL? Request.in is the base URL, maybe. I'll open this URL in the new tab, you'll find it out, okay? You see? Here, till here is a base URL. This is a base URL. Okay, in this example of request.in, this is a base URL. Common URL for every API request is a base URL. And this is the extra path that you have to give for this particular register successful request post call. Okay, API call. Able to understand, guys? Able to understand at a high level? So here request.in slash is a base URL. Okay, and the extra part, that is slash API slash register, is a extra path. Okay, endpoint path or whatever you can say. Okay, base URL of the endpoint and path of the endpoint, extra path of the endpoint you can say. Okay, yes, yes, endpoint path you can say. That is a path actually. Okay, that's a path. Then HTTP methods will be there. Okay, what is the method here in this case? In this example, what is the method we have? In this example, post method is there. Okay, different methods are there. You see, for this, get method is there, other things, put is there, post is there, patch is there, delete is there, different type of methods are there. Okay, that's another one. Okay, HTTP methods. In the documentation, you asked me what will be there. HTTP methods will be there, paths will, extra path will be there, base URL will be there. Base URL should be appended with the path to get that entire URL, API request URL. Then HTTP methods will be there. Okay, which method you need to use and all. Okay, request format, how you are sending the request. You see, some extra information you are sending, right? That request format should be in the form of the input that you are giving for the API request. That is, you're asking the details for this name, and for login, you have to give username and password, right? Like that, okay? Your JSON format you are giving in this example, okay? Okay, whatever the input you have to give in the format they will give you, and what response you should get, what is the response codes. As a reply, you will get the status code, right? That what you should get, okay? And any other some other details, if any other extra details are required. These are the major ones, guys. Okay, these are the major ones. Okay, in the API documentation, you will see the base URL, extra path, then method, HTTP method that you have to use, input data for the request, that is payload or input data, response, what type of response should come, in which format the response should come, and the what status code, what it should come. Okay, all these details will be given by the developer to you, documented. Okay, let's suppose developer want to share an API for testing to the testing team in a Word document. Okay, how the developer will share? How the developer will share? They like this. In a Word document, developer will give you all the details like project name, prepared by whom, that particular developer name. Okay, for QA testing, we are sharing this document, and in that, okay, for every API that testers need to perform testing, the developer will share the base URL. Okay, whatever the authentication we have to make, API endpoints they will give. Okay, API endpoints they will give. Okay, then what response we should get, what request we have to send in the request body, and what is the expected status code we should get. Okay, like that they'll give. So second API request, okay, URL, method, okay, like this they'll give. Okay, like this they'll give the request, base URL will be on the top anyhow. Method, get method you have to use. Okay, what is the explanation, what this API request will do at a high level, example URL, for example, they'll give this, and headers, response. They'll also give the entire thing. Sometimes they may not give the base URL and other things separately. They may give the entire thing here for you in some cases. Okay. It all depends on how the developer want to document. Okay. But these are the major details that developer will put into the API documentation. Okay. For testing team, whatever the API documentation will come to the testing team, the developer will provide all these kind of details for you. Okay. Input, output, URL. Okay. API request URL, method, API request method, Okay. Then expected status, response. Okay. All this stuff the developer will giving you. Okay. Clear everyone? Clear now? Srinivas, is that clear for you? Srinivas, is that clear for you? Okay, great. Okay, these are the details will be documented into Word document or any other document like Excel. You can document this kind of stuff in any kind of stuff, right? You can document that in a Word document, or you can document this kind of details in Excel file. You can document in a Swagger, okay? So if I go here and search for Swagger, can you let's ask this, okay? What if developer uses Swagger for documenting APIs, okay, for giving them to testing team, okay? How does it, how does the documentation look like? Documentation look like. That's what I am showing. Okay. When a developer uses Swagger to document it, it provides a live interactive web-based UI where the testing team can view all the API endpoints, see required input and output formats, try out API calls directly in the browser itself. From the browser itself, we can make the API calls also. So much sophistication, okay? You cannot, in case of Word document and all, you have to copy this API request and, for example, if I have to take this from the Word document, I need to copy this, open the Postman tool, okay? Then I have to open the Postman tool like this. Once I go to the Postman tool, okay? In case of normal documentation, what will happen? You have to copy this, go to the Postman tool like this. Once the Postman tool opens up, okay? Okay, I'll say hello. Just give me a second. And I'll go to the new tab, plus here, and then paste it here. I have to paste the entire base URL plus endpoint URL, complete thing here. Then I have to give the authorization, some token if they give, otherwise response is there. Okay. So which method they are saying get method, right? For example, I go here and give the get method. Is the get method is there? Yes, get method I'll choose. Next item. Next item is, input request any kind of input is there. For example, input is there. Copy this input for example for this. Okay. And go to the body. It's a JSON format, right? Okay. It's a JSON format, raw you select. Okay, and here select JSON here and paste it. Okay, input body, and when you click on the send button, you should get this response in the JSON format. If you get this proper response, you will verify that. Okay, as part of testing. Here it is not going to work, guys. Okay, here it may not work. These things are not correct, right? So it is not working. Okay, so here you have to get the status 200 OK status. For example, if you see the previous ones. Okay, so when I send this, a response body will come in the JSON format. Proper one is coming or not, and 200 OK is a proper expected response or not. We have to verify as per the given documentation given by the developer to you. Okay, that's what we have to do. Manually, you have to copy all these details into the Postman kind of tools. But in case of you know Swagger, what they are saying, okay, you can view all the API endpoints. You can see the input and output formats there itself. And you can also try out the API calls directly in the browser itself. You don't have to go to the Postman tool. You can try out them from the browser itself. Okay. Okay. Is a tool that auto generates API documentation from the code or a specification. Okay. The output is a beautiful interactive web page. Usually access it using a URL. Okay. Let's go here and use it. This is a sample one. Okay. This is how the Swagger URL will look like. And visually it will look something like this. Okay. Okay. It will look something like this. You can try it from in the browser page. It will open like this. Okay. The browser page, it will open like this. Okay. Okay. So developer will share this kind of UI. Developer will create this kind of thing with the help of Swagger tool and will share this kind of URL with us. And when you go to that web page, you will see all this kind of APIs. Okay. API requests and requests on that, but you can try it out there. Okay. You can try it out there. Then, yeah. Do you have, okay, how the developer will document the APIs okay, using Swagger. You see, developer have to add these dependencies as a developer. Okay, when whatever the Java project or whatever the project they are working, you may not be able to understand this, but they'll be adding this third-party libraries to the project. Okay, to take the help of this kind of stuff and do some annotations here. Okay, and they will open the Swagger UI link, and automatically the documentation will be auto-generated. Okay, developers don't have to do anything; just they have to do all this stuff. Okay, they have to do the annotations and open this URL in their local machine where the code is available. Local host means the IP address of the local machine in which the developer's code is available. Okay, then swagger UI.html will auto generate. Okay, fine. First they have to add the dependencies and then add this all this stuff. Okay, then they have to run this URL and they'll get all the stuff. Okay. So this is kind of technical for me, but I never have worked on this Swagger thing, but I'm trying to explore before you only. Okay. Okay, can you make it easy to understand? Let's say what will get the results and all. Let's go with that flow. Okay. What is Swagger? Swagger helps the developer create easy to read API documentation so that others like testers know what the API does, what inputs it needs, what output it gives, how to try it. Okay. It also gives you a website where you can see and test the APIs. Okay. How does a developer use a Swagger? There are two easy steps to document APIs using Swagger. Method one, add nodes in code. For example, in Java, think of it like writing instructions about each API, like you know, all these kind of things you will write. Okay. Then this tells Swagger what API does, what the URL is, what the method is, and all those stuff. In the code itself, developers are documenting this one, and they are just opening the URL and it's getting created. Okay. Or developers can create a simple YAML file. Okay. So it's a very technical thing for us. Okay. And with the help of the Swagger and all, they will be able to auto generate. Okay. So I will give you a website page with all this information like that. Okay. Add Swagger to the project. Okay. One library or plugin. Add nodes to each API in code or in YAML file. Run the app. Swagger opens in the browser. Share link with testers. That's it. This is a 4-step process. Developer will follow their end. Once we get this URL right, once we get this URL, what will happen? We'll be able to access the documentation, which looks something like this on the website page. Okay. So sample Swagger API documentation. Okay. Swagger petstore.swagger.ai accept cookies, and this is how it looks, guys. Okay. Try it out. Okay. This kind of proper documentation will be there. You see the look and feel. Is it same similar to the Word document it is there, or you are getting more details here? Okay. Guys, which one is better? Look wise, which one is better? In the browser, when you open this Swagger API documentation, it looks kind of UI will be like this. Okay, very interesting UI will be there, and here the request is there. Okay, endpoints are there. Okay, what we have to input and everything is there, and try it out option is also there. Okay, if you go to the get here, okay, you see all the stuff are provided here in a proper way, and based on that, you can try it from the page itself. We can try all the API calls. Okay, we can make the calls. So Swagger is one of the popular one in the market, guys. Okay, Swagger is one of the one kind of popular in the market. Okay. Fine. Maybe we'll go to Swagger later in a detailed manner, guys. Okay. Let's learn about Swagger in detail later. But for now, my concept is my way of my thought process here is to explain that developer can share the API documentation to the testing team in different ways. They can document in a Word document and give it to you. You already know now like what kind of details it will contain, guys. Okay. API method it will contain API request. Okay, which is a combination of base URL plus endpoint path. Okay, endpoint path will be there. Okay, extra endpoint path will be there. The next one will be what will be the next item that will be shared in this API documentation by the developer? Request payload. that is input. Okay, it can be in JSON format or whatever it is. Okay, any authentication related stuff. Okay, for this API call to work, authentication details will be given to you. Authentication details. Okay, then response. Okay, response. What the response is going to come, and response codes like 200 okay and all. Okay, response code, what response, expected response and expected response code, all this will be documented. Okay, so whether this thing will be documented in a Word document or Excel, or developer will generate a Swagger web file, I mean page link, or they will share this kind of details in a JSON file or WSDL file in case of SOAP kind of okay thing, or website page. In a normal website page, they will display all this stuff. Okay, customize a website page and give it to you. Other thing is like they can also share this kind of details over the test management tools like Jira version 1 HPLM. Using their functionalities in the test management tool they can share, or they can also use something like Confluence. What is Confluence, you are asking me, right? At the time you are asking me what is Confluence, right? What is Confluence? Yeah, that is status code, right? Yeah, that's correct. Response code, response status code. Okay, we generally call this as a status code. So I can write in a better way. As you mentioned, that is 100% right. Response status code. Okay. Status code. Okay. Which along with the response, we'll get the status code. Okay. Response status code or status code also you can call, not a problem. Okay. Contents of API that will be documented by developer before giving to tester. Okay. Before giving to the tester, what are the contents that developer will be documenting here? These are the contents. Okay. Fine. And confluence, what is, how the confluence will look like? How the confluence will look like? Confluence will look something like this. Okay. Confluence will look something like this, guys. Okay. There is like, images. I'll show you the images of the confluence. The confluence pages will, it's like, it's a social media for the technical people, guys. Okay. Confluence is like a social media kind of thing. You see, can you see this image here, guys? Some kind of things are going on. Confluence is like a, in your projects who are the team members are working, it's like a social media. It's not like you are sharing your Instagram profile and images here. Here you are discussing about your project. In Confluence you can share documents, you can put some comments, okay, about something that is shared by someone. The work can be shared here, and documentation can be shared here in the Confluence. Similar to the other type of documentation, API documentation to be given to the tester, developer can use this Confluence kind of a tool, okay, kind of thing, to share that kind of API documentation team with the testing team. Okay, and testing team and developer team can chart over the document on this particular Confluence. Clear everyone, what is Confluence now? Everyone clear what is Confluence? Yeah, it's like that only, where team members can, yes, kind of stuff. Okay, project related stuff will be discussed there. Okay, it's like a GitHub also. We can compare that with GitHub also. If you explore GitHub, right, you will have the same feeling, right? The code will be there and everyone will be commenting about the code, right? Here, project related work will be shared in the form of documentation and all, and people can, put comments on that. Okay, Confluence is like that. Okay, the discussion, social media for work, social media for the projects, guys. That is what is Confluence is. Okay, and a lot of other features are there. A lot of other features are there. Okay, so social media for work, for work team members. Okay, in the project is Confluence. Take notes, plan projects, redefine ideas. Okay, live docs and pages, everything. Okay. Many other things also may be there, but Confluence can be used for this kind of purpose also. Okay, if you want to know more about the Confluence and all, you can check their website and find it out, guys. Okay, lot of documentation and communication. Okay, discussion on the documentation can be done on the, not only documentation can be created, but discussion on the document also can be done in a proper way. Okay, so some owner will create a document, and other people will start discussing on that, and real time feedback can be given, and all the things can be done, and many other things also can be possible, but those are the things that I want to showcase here. Okay. That's what is Confluence. You can even developers can use the Confluence kind of pages to share the API details, okay, with the testing team. Fine. And many other ways also can be there, guys. Okay, these are the ways that I know. Okay, these are the ways I know. But if you ask ChatGPT, like what are the different ways? What are the what are the different ways like Word, Excel, Swagger, etc. that developers can use for sharing the for sharing the API documentation for the testing team. Word document they can share, Excel sheet, Swagger, okay. Postman collections they can give you some exported JSON file from a Postman tool and you can import it. Okay. So if you are using some Postman tool, this collection you can export. There will be some options to export. Okay. More export options are there. You can developers can export them in the JSON format and give it to you, and you can simply import and start testing. That is another way. Okay, Postman collections also they can give in a PDF document. They can give on Confluence or wiki pages, as you rightly said. Wiki pages are similar to the Confluence. Okay, web-based documentation where collaboration between the team members happen is nothing but Confluence or wiki pages. Okay, then other API specific formats they can give. Okay, YAML files. Okay, different type of file types will be there. So different ways will be possible. These are the major ones. Okay. Word document, Excel sheet, Swagger, Postman, PDF, Confluence, API spec formats. Okay. Some other type of documents. Okay. Clear everyone? Yes, clear everyone how the developers will share you the API details with you all is clear. This is very important, right? Rather than you just focus on how to perform API testing on using the Postman tool. If you don't know, when you tomorrow join a real-time project where you don't know how the developer will share the API with you, you'll get confused, right? Without this knowledge, you'll not understand where to get started in the projects. That's why this kind of concepts are important, guys. Okay, that's why this kind of concepts are important. This will give you some real-time exposure to the projects. Okay, how what happens in the real time. With this all, you'll understand. Okay. I'll be sharing them in the Telegram group, guys. Okay, I'll be sharing those images in the Telegram group. You can take it from there. Okay. Okay. Here, anyhow, this is gone. So I'll delete this, and it's not there, right? So I'll just delete that and create a new file here. Then I'll just say new document. I'll simply say 16, right? 16, I think so. 16. Different ways. Different ways. Developers will share API documentation with testing team. API documentation with testing team. Okay. These are the ways. Okay. Just provided here. You can find out the details from that. Okay. Fine. Done. That is also done. Okay. Then I think we can stop here for today, guys. I think we can stop here for today. Okay. A lot of information I have shared today. And the next details, few more concepts of APIs, like, a lot of other things are there, like why we have to use tools for performing API testing, what are the different type of API testing tools are available. Okay. Uh, Testing types we can perform on APIs. What are the different type of testing types we can perform on APIs? When you perform API testing, what are the different testing types you can perform? What is the difference between URL, okay, URL, all this information. Then different components, again the extension. Okay, what is an endpoint and base URL? I'm going to cover what is an endpoint and base URL in detail here. What is tail URL? I'm going to cover here. And then HTTP methods, HTTP status codes, one by one we are going to that. Okay. We are moving to the practical stuff only, but before we directly jump on to the practical stuff, all this knowledge is required, guys. Okay, without this we cannot proceed further. Okay, so anyhow we are going step by step. So tomorrow, again at the same time, that is 6 p.m. IST, we are going to have the next session. Okay. So everyone clear with today's concepts? Guys, everyone is clear with the today's concepts. I'll share you this whatever the prompts I have done in the chat GPT, right? I'll also share this with you. Okay, I'll share this in WhatsApp group. Today's API testing prompts. Okay, I'll just share it here. That's one thing. And also I'll share in the Google documentation here in the chat GPT links. I'll share that with you. New file. What is the name I have to give, guys? Okay, let me go from here and understand. API terminology and types. API terminology and types. And documentation. API terminology. API. Other API types. Other API types. API documentation types. Okay. All this I covered in today's ChatGPT prompts. Okay. These are the links. Okay. Any questions, guys, before I wind up today's session? Any other questions you have? Guys, anyone have any questions from today's session? Okay. Fine then. That's all for today, guys. Again, we'll go with tomorrow's session. A lot of interesting. Yeah, thank you, Ranga. Okay, thanks for the feedback. So a lot of other interesting topics are coming on API, okay, in tomorrow. So don't miss that. We'll connect tomorrow where we are going to cover, where I'm going to explain more API testing concepts, okay? Slowly we are moving into the practical side. So be patient till we get to the practical end, okay? Bye everyone, take care.